In a few days, I'm heading to Alaska, home to the last true wilderness in America, remote and wild. It's been on my bucket list for a very long time. Alaska's land and resources have been fought over more harshly than any other state in this nation. From oil reservoirs, fisheries, forests, and wildlife concerns, Alaska is a place most of us haven't visited, but still have strong opinions on what happens in this last stronghold of nature, where bears, wolves, wolverines, caribou, and elk still roam free. Now, part of Denali National Park, where I'm going to be visiting, was actually just closed from warming temperatures that actually melted permafrost, creating a landslide that took out the park road, which is just yet a reminder of climate change and the quickly changing world we live in because of it. Hey everyone, I'm Alice Ford, an environmentalist, serial traveler, and lover of the wild. You may know me from my travel series, Alice's Adventures, where I show you off the beaten path destinations, but this channel is all about learning more about our impact on the world and how we can do better. So welcome to Nature News. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and drop a comment down below to tell me what makes you love nature. It's August, and for many Americans and people around the world, that means it's back to school time. And let's be real, children are incredibly wasteful and they go through a lot of resources as they grow and change. So I wanted to give a few tips to make back to school not only less wasteful, but more resourceful. So first things first, it's time to get organized. Now, many of us, adults and children alike, went virtual these last 18 months and are starting to go back into the world, which means that things like pens and notebooks may have been lost in the back of our drawers. So take a day to get organized, find all your office supplies, your electronics, and your school items so you know exactly what you have and what you need to purchase if you need to purchase anything new. I know my sister, her son's school had a long list of things they were supposed to purchase, but most of the stuff they actually had at home, and unfortunately it seemed like their school didn't want them to reuse stuff. So I also urge you to talk to your school if you do have children that require you to have certain things, on maybe not having to buy new things. You know, one of the things on hers was like a brand new box of unsharpened colored pencils. And they were like, well, we want to teach the children how to sharpen their pencils, which I think is ridiculous. If you've got colored pencils at home, you shouldn't need to buy new ones. Anyways, that goes into why you should always reuse whatever you have. And one of the things I enjoyed growing up was covering my books with old papers, fabrics, or fun materials to give them a new and personalized look. So I think that's something you can also do with your kids. As far as talking to your school goes about not needing to buy new stuff, you can also talk to them about setting up a TerraCycle box to recycle old pens, markers, and mechanical pencils, but they also have programs for recycling almost anything, and getting these put into your local schools is a great option for reducing waste into landfills and not only helping your children, but the children of all the parents in the school as well. Now, when it comes to notebooks, you can look for ones made out of hemp or recycled content instead of new paper. Now, hemp is a lot more sustainable than regular paper, but if you can't find hemp, definitely look for ones made out of recycled content. And you're also going to want to send your kid to school with a reusable water bottle, and there's no reason we should be encouraging our children to be buying single-use plastic. If you live in an area that may have issues with the local water supply, like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Michigan, or some of the East Coast, you'll also want to look for a water bottle that has a built-in water filter. Life Straw makes a great one. There's also Epic Water Filters that makes a great one as well. So I would highly encourage you to check those out and encourage your children to refill their water bottles in the school faucets or school water fountain. Now, for school lunches, I think it's really great to encourage your kids to help you prep food on the weekends. Also, buy local organic food. Use stainless steel BPA-free reusable Tupperware and reusable sandwich bags for your school lunches instead of single-use bags or containers. There's really no reason to be using single-use plastic bags. I've also got an Amazon shopping list if you need some ideas, which I will link in the description, that has some of my favorite reusable bags and containers that I have here at my house that I use on my hikes and, when I travel and things like that. So definitely check those out if you need some ideas. And then when it comes to clothing, because I think this is one of the biggest waste streams that we have, I think for, not just children, but all of us, really take some time to not only look locally, but to purchase well-fitting, well-made items that aren't going to break or get holes in quickly, and that won't be disposed of after just a few uses. Now, fast fashion, which I haven't done a standalone video on yet on this channel, but it's a huge contributor to pollution and the global waste stream. So whatever you can do to reduce the amount of fast fashion that you buy, and when I say fast fashion, I mean stores that are inexpensive, that are constantly turning over new styles. A few that come to mind are like H&M, Forever 21, Zara, even places like The Gap are not particularly fantastic for sustainability. So just do a little bit of research, but make sure that your kids are liking the clothes and that they actually fit them before you purchase them, so that they don't have to be returned or then donated or sold. Speaking of that, you can also donate or sell old clothing to local shelters. I also really like the website threadup.com, which is an online secondhand shop that actually will pay you when your items sell. And when you're doing this office item checkup to see what you have, I think it's also really good to go through your kids' closet, and maybe yours too, and get rid of old items that no longer fit as well. Because I think teaching your children about being mindful when it comes to purchasing is a really important lesson in keeping our consumerism in check, but also staying sustainable. I think consumerism is another topic I'm probably going to talk about more on this channel in the next couple of months, but it's really hard to not be super consumerism based when we live in, a developed nation like the one that we live in. And I'm really working on trying to buy less to get by with what I have, and I encourage you to do the same. So I'd love to know what sustainable lessons also that you're sharing with your kids or the youth that you meet in a comment down below. Now, there are two more huge issues right now that I wanted to talk about that are affecting every living organism in the Western US. One is the drought and the other is wildfires. Now, the American West has been hit with an extreme drought this past week, as the Colorado River for the first time ever actually declared a water shortage. Now, the flow of the river, which shaped the Grand Canyon and cuts through 7 western states, has fallen by 20% over the last century. Now, if you don't know about the Colorado River, it feeds the nation's largest human-made reservoir, Lake Mead, which has also sunk to a record low. And Lake Mead actually brings water to much of the West, including Las Vegas, parts of California, Arizona. It also goes to the Hoover Dam, which then gives us electricity in the Western United States. So it's really important reservoir. It does a lot, and if this goes away, we're going to be in severe trouble on this part of the country. Now, the announcement of this shortage isn't just symbolic. It also triggers mandatory water consumption cuts in much of the West. Now, this is mostly happening in Arizona, but even Northern California has some water consumption cuts as well. And some 40 million people actually rely on the river for water, as well as nearly 5.5 million acres of farmland that actually gets its irrigation from the Colorado River. Now, the Colorado also gives life to residents and animals throughout Nevada, California, Arizona, all the way down to Baja. And as I said, Lake Mead and the Hoover Dam provide electricity for many of the communities in the West. So it's really bad, and there's so little water running now through the dam that electricity from the dam is at its lowest output in history. Now, what these figures miss are the countless plants and animals that also depend on water to survive in the harsh terrain of the Western US. So much so that state agencies have, for the last 3 years, actually flown water out into the backcountry of Arizona for bears, sheep, and other wildlife. Now, I really love that Arizona is doing this. There are roughly about 3,000 catchments in the state that hold anywhere from about 2,500 to 10,000 gallons of water. They're putting in basically little reservoirs for the animals. And it's pretty terrible that we're having to do this, but at least the state of Arizona is taking responsibility and thinking about how to deal with the animals in their state. I don't know that a lot of states are doing that, but I think that it's really important that when it comes to climate change, we don't just think about how it affects us, but we think about how it affects the animals and the plants that are inadvertently and innocently affected by the mistakes we've made as a society. So kudos to you, Arizona, and I hope that more states start thinking about how to fix some of the grave missteps we've had as humans and, make sure that we can live sustainably with animals too. So the drought is also fueling ever worsening wildfires in the western US. And these fires are so bad that communities throughout Nevada and Northern California, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho have now been living in unbreathable air quality for most of the summer. So if you live in these areas, it's not just COVID that's going to keep your mask on, but smoke. Now, KN95 masks are your best bet for keeping your lungs healthy in areas of high smoke. It's best to avoid being outdoors and even exercising outside when air quality is poor. And unfortunately, that means hiking in the mountains as well, especially in the regions of the eastern Sierras. So if you do have to go outside, wear a mask. Several studies have also correlated higher COVID numbers in areas of wildfire smoke. So breathing in smoke from wildfires weakens your lungs and is full of small particulates, which is extremely harmful to your health and also has led to higher rates of cancer and other diseases. People that consistently breathe in air pollution die younger. They often have preterm children as well if it's pregnant women. So it's just bad. So keep those masks on, unfortunately, if you live in these areas. I'm going to be off the air for a few weeks while I travel through Alaska, but I look forward to bringing you some more impactful content when I return. Thank you guys so much for watching Nature News, and I will see you in the next one.